Issue 1, Al-Qaeda rising. Question, does the intelligence estimate about Al-Qaeda's strength mean that we have made no progress in the war on terror in 5.5 years?
It's arguably worse than that. You could say, because first of all, there was no such thing as Al-Qaeda in Iraq, Al-Qaeda in Mesopotamia before the Iraq War. Al-Qaeda was in Afghanistan, mostly Pakistan. Now we have Al-Qaeda Light. We have the subsidiary, Al-Qaeda in Mesopotamia, which didn't even exist. Besides the fact that Iraq has been a failure qua rebuilding Iraq, we also now have Al-Qaeda in Mesopotamia and no end in sight. So arguably, in terms of the war against Islamic totalitarianism, then yes, I think it's very clear that we're worse off than the day before we invaded Afghanistan and ousted the Taliban. And again, we haven't caught bin Laden, which is humiliating.
Was the release of that story about Rumsfeld designed to send a message to Musharraf? Namely, you either cooperate with us or we'll go forward with that kind of Rumsfeld plan?
Pakistan is one of those, quote, trusted allies in the war on terror. This is not about sending messages to Musharraf. There's plenty of examples of this. Saudi Arabia, trusted ally in the war on terror. I've written about this on my blog repeatedly. The UAE, one of the most barbaric, anti-Western, anti-human rights regimes along with Saudi Arabia, but they're a trusted ally in the war on terror, so we look the other way. I recently wrote about Ethiopia, Meles Zenawi, a trusted ally in the war on terror. The fact that he's a brutal dictator who just sentenced his entire opposition party to life in prison, so what? He fights Al-Qaeda, so he's a good guy.
Announcing a third front, and that's Pakistan?
I thought Iran was the third front. Pakistan has nothing to do with it. We have to go bomb Iran first. That's the conventional wisdom as to what this administration would like to do.
I have a question. What is the main factor fueling the rise of Al-Qaeda?
Our continued presence in Iraq. It's a great recruiting tool for Al-Qaeda. That's obvious.
Terrorist attack this summer?
First of all, I think it's pretty sad that we have the Secretary of Homeland Security talking about his, quote, gut feelings. In any case, let's keep something else in mind about these recent London attacks. They've been preposterous. So have been the ones here, the Fort Dix attack, the blow up the pipelines at JFK, attack. These are like kindergarten-style plots that are really being put together by buffoons who can't do it right. They can't even blow themselves up properly. So no, I'm not particularly worried about a major terrorist attack.
Issue 2, Baker Hamilton to the rescue. Did Mr. Bush give any indication that he's willing to shift course in Iraq? I ask you.
No, it's all surge all the time. It's all Petraeus all the time. The only time that something is going to change is when the funding runs out and the Democrats in Congress revisit the issue of funding. I raised this the last time. The way that this ought to happen is very simple. We should just secure Baghdad, and not even really secure Baghdad, but secure the government, the Iraqi government. Leave them safe to do what they do, which hopefully would be something different than take the month of August off, so that then they can move out and try to secure the country if they think they can do it. The idea that we are anywhere other than in Baghdad, maybe to protect the oil fields, but the idea that we go from province to province to province is part of the reason that we're accomplishing absolutely nothing and the reason that so many American soldiers are dying. Let's secure the government, the Iraqi government. Let's get it so that they can begin to function, that they can begin to train a military and a police force. You remember the old phrase? When they stand up, we will stand down. You don't hear that anymore. That was the one thing that might have made sense in Iraq, and that's going to be the exit strategy coupled with a simple ending of funding when the funding runs out in a couple of months.
So issue 3, the silence of the surgeons. Do any of these constitute, separately or together, an impeachable offense?
Yeah.
Well, no, of course not. Look, back during the Monica Lewinsky affair, I was a great believer in the plain text of the Constitution that says high crimes and misdemeanors. Misdemeanor in the original sense of that word, misbehavior. I can see abstractly a case being made for impeachment for general misconduct. I believed it with Bill Clinton, and I'll believe it with George Bush. We shouldn't even have a Surgeon General. It's a silly post. It's a waste of money. But all administration officials, with the possible exception of the Justice Department, are supposed to be cheerleaders for the administration.
Ariana, give us a prediction.
The Dow Jones Industrial Average closed a smidgen above 14,000. It will close below 13,000 the last trading session before the Labor Day.